All right, finally we are public. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us tonight. We are here with another live edition, episode 44 of Struggling with Sozio. Uh, Without further ado, I'm just going to get right down to it. Joining me tonight is the very lovely and beautiful Sassy Stephie. How you doing, Miss Stephie?
I'm doing good. How are you? And I can't forget my dog who doesn't want to shut up right now. So he
That's
wants to be
okay.
heard too.
I mean, the show wouldn't be called Struggling if we didn't have to deal with some stuff like that once in a while, you know?
It's weird. He's not usually like this, but then the podcast I did with you the other night with Brian, and now tonight with you, he's just like so annoying. And I'm like, oh my God, this never happened.
Maybe like he can't hear my voice, right? So it's like it's not like my voice is agitating him, because then that would be a justifiable excuse if he heard my voice and he's like, that no good, dirty, greasy son of a bitch. I know it's him.
No, I don't. No, he definitely can. I have my headphones on, but like I don't know what the deal is, because like I was checking my sound earlier and everything, make sure everything's going well. As you know, running a podcast, how important audio is.
Oh, of course,
so,
yeah.
Like I come down, I check it, not a peep, nothing. But then like as soon as we go live, it's like all hell breaks loose upstairs in my living room. I don't know what's going on.
Of course, naturally. But I was getting set up for this interview. Thanks again for joining me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I saw you've been doing your thing, and we'll definitely talk about that. But no, let's actually do that now. Like, okay. I'd rather get plugs out of the way at the top because, just in case anybody doesn't hang in there till the end, I'd rather them know where they can find more of you in case they don't make it till the end. So talk about your podcast, Talkin Sass.
Well, it's still pretty new. It's in its infancy. I have 3 episodes out. I had an episode come out today. Talkin Sass is the name of it. You can find it on YouTube. The channel is Talkin Sass. So far, I've had Nevaeh, who is a current Impact knockout. I've had Allison Danger, who is near and dear to my heart. She's my wrestling mom. And then I have today Ring of Honor star Shane Taylor, who I've known for probably a good 13 to 15 years, somewhere around there. Whenever we met in that time frame is kind of blurry, but
okay, yeah, I was wondering who was on your Instagram, because you've been doing like these little teasers about your guests and stuff, and I was like, who is that refrigerator of a person? And then now it makes total sense. Now that I saw it with Shane Taylor, I was like, yes, he is a large man. Yes,
yeah, but Shane's awesome. It's so funny.
He is.
My husband, who edits my show, and he doesn't know half the people that I have even planned. He's like, I don't know who these people are. But he met Shane once. We were in, God, I'm terrible with years, so forgive me. Whatever year WrestleMania was in Dallas, I think maybe 2016.
Maybe.
And we ran into Shane and, well, now he's Eric in the Viking Raiders in Texas, which is where they live. But the 3 of us are all from the Cleveland area.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, it's Shane Taylor and Ray Rowe. That's talking about Eric. It's Ray Rowe, guys. My husband met him there, but like it was like for literally 5 seconds. They were going one way, we were going another. And when he listened to my podcast with Shane, he was like, for being such like a big guy, he seems like such a cool guy. And I was like, that's why I had him on as my 3rd guest. Right. I need more people to know who he is.
Yeah, and that's why we're friends, because he's super cool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's surprising sometimes how like some of the these big looming strong guys are like teddy bears. You know what I mean? They're nice guys when you get right down to it. But yeah, like you said, you can listen to that everywhere you listen to podcasts, and certainly subscribe on YouTube when you get a chance.
Yes, yeah, it's in my infancy, or the show's in its infancy, and I need viewers and subscribers.
Yes. Likewise.
I don't know how important that is until you get into the actual like making of it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need more. Like this is not enough.
Sure. But at the same time, like you can't dwell on it too much. Yeah. I definitely do as well. I don't take my own advice. I'm just telling you, but I try not to dwell on it too much because it takes away from why you started to do it in the first place. Yeah. If you wanted to do this because you wanted to talk to your friends more, that's why you're doing it. If you started this because you wanted to become famous in a different avenue instead of wrestling or whatever, then that's why you're doing it. But
yeah, for me, it's kind of both of those not famous, but it's kind of 2 of those.
Yeah, right. You want some notoriety for it. Yeah, you don't want your efforts to be wasted. Sure.
But like, I got into it because obviously you and I have had conversations. We both have families now, and because of COVID and my son, who's only a year and a half, I don't have enough adult conversations in my life. I
Yes, yeah.
feel like all I talk about is Sesame Street, Daniel Tiger, Curious George, and the Wiggles. Those are my conversations. So like, it's when I have my podcast and I'm going with them, it's weird because like I'm like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. And then we like talk for like a half hour and then I do my podcast. And then like I keep them till like midnight because I'm like, I'm thriving on this adult conversation.
Yes.
I mean, I see my husband, I talk to my husband every day, but like he's like, okay, I've heard these stories 150 times now. So it's so nice to have these adult conversations. So that's part of the reason. And then another reason is I love wrestling. And as you know, I haven't been involved in the business in about 2 years because obviously I started a family and it makes it very difficult. And then COVID happening too. So it's like this way I still stay within the business without directly being in the ring and entertaining. I'm doing it entertaining in another way, but also helping support my friends doing what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great way to look at it. You're keeping yourself relevant while giving obviously all your friends and certainly people you're interested in talking to a platform to get their stuff out there and keep their self relevant as well.
Definitely. Right now it's so hard. COVID sucks, man.
Yeah, like I mean, you needed all this stuff before COVID, but now it's like way more important that you have a social media presence because there is no real presence, you know, or very little. You know, there's very few companies outside of the big ones that are having the funding to go through and jump through the hoops that you need to run a show safely nowadays, run an indie show safely.
Right. And I know this weekend is the collective where there's about, I think, 12 different indie promotions that are all coming together to work over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I just hope them all the best. I know that fans are cut down to like 25% of what they could actually hold at the venue there.
Sure.
But still, when I interviewed Nevaeh for my first episode, she's like, I've been wrestling, thankfully, through the pandemic because of Impact. But I haven't wrestled in front of a crowd in at least 6-7 months. So she's like, I cannot wait to like come through that curtain and hopefully people still like me. And I'm like, I'm sure they will, you know?
Yeah. Especially with television exposure too. Like that always helps big time.
Definitely. So like, I can only imagine what they're going through. Like me personally, like if I ever come back, which who knows, probably not likely because I'd like to continue my family. And by the time I have another kid, I'm the same age as the Bellas. So they're already retired. Right. By the time I have another kid and I maybe get my body back down to wrestling size and do the training and everything that I need to do, I'm going to be damn near 40. Like what women's wrestler 40 years old is still performing and has a family at home? You know, there's not very many. There's a few, but not very many.
Yeah, no, some of them definitely pull it off. I mean, I can't think of any that come to mind. There's a few like WWE wrestlers that I was surprised to find out were mothers. Like I think Tamina has a few children, if I'm not mistaken. So like, you know, she's been on the road with them forever. It seems. Yeah. Like she's been, you know, so like.
And Mickey James too. When she was on the Independent, she was bringing her son with her to independent shows.
Yeah. I actually ran into her. I went to visit Shelly Martinez when she was in Delaware or Maryland, I think, a couple of years back. And Mickey, she happened to be working Mickey, so like, I ran into her there and her baby. But I forget exactly what I was going to say about that. But yeah, it definitely can complicate things. But I think what I was going to say is kudos to anybody that can do that.
For sure.
Because you know, I mentioned it last week when we were talking, but I'll certainly say it again. And I think anybody that listens to this show knows that I stepped away from wrestling right as I was about to become a father as well, for several reasons. Like, I mean, number one, I was about to be a father and I could no longer risk my physical well-being for my own selfish need for attention, because I needed to be well enough to go to work. You know what I mean? Whatever that job is, like sit at a desk, deliver packages, you know, you name it. I needed to. That's responsibility number one. I mean, second of all, I was kind of just getting to be a little bit done with the business anyway. I was 13 years in, 34 years old, pretty beat up, you know, lived a little bit of a reckless wrestling life. So I was ready to step away in that regard. But, you know, back to the point, like, about to have a child, like I just couldn't imagine ever getting like a major contract and being away a lot, and not being a part of that child's life, certainly for the first 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that either. Like, my son just started daycare again because with COVID, they were closed there for a while. And I've been at
Sure.
home working from home, luckily. So I just kept him home with me. And then I was like, all right, this is getting, now that he's more mobile, he's into everything. And I'm like, he's got to go back to daycare now. I can't handle him and my job both at the same time.
Yeah, it's tough.
So he went back just last week, and already, like, I'm like, okay, it's 4:00. It's time to go pick him up. Like, I'm so excited to go see him. So, like, I can only imagine if I was gone 2-3 days a week or more. I mean, right now, I don't think anybody's really gone 2-3 days a week, obviously, because of COVID.
Right. Sure.
But you're still gone for a bit of time. And to me, if I were in a situation where I was wrestling somewhere, I don't know if I'd want to eat anyway, because the chances of, getting COVID, and maybe I'm not I don't have symptoms or whatever, but I give it to my son who's only 18 months. His immune system's not what it's going to be when he's my age. You know what I mean? So
Sure,
it's not worth it to me.
No, absolutely not. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, kudos to everybody that's out there trying and dealing with it. But I just know that for me, and it's by no means to criticize anybody that is doing it, because there's lots of mommies and daddies out there working for WWE and stuff like that. And,
Definitely.
It's just a decision that I personally had to make, and I know you did too.
Yeah.
Now, I know to some degree this is like a personal question, but were you and your husband, I guess, planning this? Were you planning on stepping away from wrestling to start a family? And then I guess your decision to like retire, what was that like? Because I know for me it was tough. Like, despite all things, despite starting a family, that decision was very difficult for me.
Oh, and I still struggle with it. Like,
sure,
it's hard. Like, it's not so hard right now because of COVID. I keep saying that, but
yeah, right. If I saw this
like,
coming,
okay, I couldn't do it anyway because
yeah.
I moved to Canada to be with my husband, so I can't even cross the border. And as far as I know, there's no shows running in Canada right now, so I wouldn't be able to do it anyway.
Right.
So it makes it a little bit easier, but I still struggle with it because, like, I see people I know, obviously people are also on TV. Like, right now is just this tremendous time to be a pro wrestler if you want to make it somewhere, because the options are huge. There's AEW, there's Impact, there's Ring of Honor, there's WWE, there's did I say AEW? Whichever. There's so many options.
Yeah, NWA, stuff like that.
Just signing people left and right just so that other people can't.
Yeah, so right.
It is a struggle in that aspect, but like, I even tell my husband, I'm like, man, I really, and I've said this for years, I want to have one retirement match, and it's it's all the girls I came in with, and I want it to be a fatal 5-way. I want it to be Madison Rain, who is my very first opponent ever. I trained with her in Ohio.
Okay.
Nevaeh, because I came in with Nevaeh. Awesome. Jessica Havoc, I came in with her. And then Zoe Sky, which I always knew as Angel Dust, because I could probably wrestle her with a blindfold on still. I haven't wrestled her in, probably 6 years. And then myself. And it's all the girls I came in with. It's what I want to do to, like, finish off my career. And Remix Pro in Ohio, back when, we were able to see each other and all that. They're like, yeah, we'll do it, no problem. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah. And then so that's what I want. But my husband thinks I'm crazy because technically my last match was before SmackDown at WWE. And he's like, why would you want to have another match? Your last match was in front of like Triple H and Dolph Ziggler and Natalya and Charlotte and all these people. And I'm like, yeah, but it's sentimental why I want my last match.
Right. Like that's exactly it. That's what I was thinking as you were saying it. Is like, as cool as that experience was, that didn't mean what the 5-way would mean to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the 5-way means so much more to you. So
because it's like I'm going out the way I came in with the 5 girls who literally, when I came in, the evolution started maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I was just starting to kind of fade out a little bit. But back 13 years ago when I got started, my very first match, sure, there was a lot of women's wrestlers because you had Shimmer and stuff like that, but you didn't get the respect on the main shows that you do now. Right. And it's like, oh man, like I would love to come back to that too, like that kind of respect. But at that time, those 5 girls, I was wrestling at least one of them every weekend for like the first 2 years, except for Shimmer weekends or, you know, somewhere where we found an all-women show. That would be the only time we would work somebody other than each other, you know?
Right.
A lot of times we were in tag matches. They're like, oh, there's 4 girls, let's throw them together and make it a tag. You know? So it would be great to have, you know, to go out the way I came in, but, you know, who knows with the times. And I know Madison Rain, she just wrestled her last independent match, not her last match, her last independent match. So
I gotcha.
That would be hard to get her, but I could still do a tag. Jessica Nevaeh.
Oh yeah. I mean, it would just be more complicated because of contracts and things like that. You know, there's a few podcast guests. I'll leave their names out of it, but that I've tried to get. But you know, I had to preface it by saying, like, ask if you're allowed to first, and you know, naturally they're not allowed to because it's just, you know, they work for the big boys. But it is what it is. I understand that. You know, they got to be careful. Who knows, like, what kind of slurs I may have said in different episodes or whatever. You know, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But
I know. There's some things I could say about some people as well, but I tend to keep more things on the positive side.
Yeah. I mean, depending on who my guest is and where we're taking the show is sort of the mood that I carry throughout, you know. With you, I mean, I'd like to keep things a little bit more positive and upbeat. Like, I don't think what's that?
It's funny, actually, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're so nice. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I was a heel 99.9% of the time.
Yes.
It's so much easier to be a heel. I was like, but genuinely, I'm this bubbly person that just likes to talk. And that's why Talkin Sass is so perfect.
Right. Yeah. No, seriously. I mean, you're perfect for this. And especially with, you know, our backgrounds in sports entertainment have certainly prepared us for this. But no, it's funny you say that because I've had that thought as well. And a lot of people that I've talked to either on this show or people that listen to this show are very surprised to find out that I'm actually a really nice guy. You know what I mean?
We were always both heels on the same show. So we have no problem with each other.
Right. Yeah,
we've always been cool to me.
I think the only time we were opposing each other, we were in some crazy ass like 10-person tag. On the charity gimmick that we did for WSU.
Cherry Bomb, when she got injured and we did a charity show for her for CCW and WSU. That was that 10-person tag or whatever it was crazy, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It didn't make a ton of sense and it didn't have to. It was just for entertainment purposes and we delivered. Of course we did. But yeah, you know, we have a lot of similarities and you know, it's certainly another reason. As soon as I saw that you were doing your own podcast, I was like, well, we should definitely do something together because just knowing a little bit about you personally and having stepped away from wrestling to start a family, I was like, we have a lot more in common than I ever realized. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We were both in the business 13 years before we stepped away, and we both spent most of our time being assholes, which is awesome. And in reality, we're nice people for the most part, you know. And,
but you know what? I find being a heel, like, to me, it just came so much easier because I could finally say things that I wanted to say, but never put in real life because I didn't have the guts to say it to people. But like as a heel, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like at WSU, I would never flick off a kid. Like I would never tell them no or anything like that. But at WSU, there was one match I did. I wrestled against Santana, and she's down in NXT now. But I wrestled her, and there was this little girl. I don't know. She must have been like 8 to 10 years old, somewhere around there. And she was just cursing at me like crazy. She was so mad. So I just flicked her off in the middle of the show. And like, they're like, oh, well, Sassy Stephie certainly had something to say to that little girl. I'm like, yeah, because I finally have an opportunity where I can say I'm not going to get my ass in trouble.
Yeah, screw it. Why not? Yeah, I agree. For me, it was always the same shit. I mean, first and foremost, like I liked the heels growing up. Like I love Triple H. I love that sort of character. So like getting that reaction was what I wanted out of people. I wanted the
Mhm.
heel reaction, and certainly, like you said, it was nice to get that out of your system, because I just sincerely have never been that way in my real life. Like, I've always kind of been a little bit of a pushover, nice guy, doing things for other people instead of himself type thing. So yeah, it's always been the best release.
Well, for me, like even up till now, like I had never been in like an actual fight except for one.
Right.
And like I only jumped in because my friend was getting jumped. In fact, I don't think she minds if I tell this story. I
Sure.
was in North Carolina and I was feuding with Amber O'Neal. And this is after the show. She's filming something for her YouTube channel or whatever the case was at that point in time.
Right.
I remember if YouTube was a thing at that time. And so she was filming something and two girls jumped her in like after the show. So like I'm selling merch like
Wow.
off to the side. So I jump over my table and it was two girls. So I pull one down, I put her in a chokehold and I'm like, look, if I let you up and you start shit again, I'm gonna have to put you down and you're not getting back up.
Right.
So she chilled. And then Amber and the other girl, I don't know what happened because I was just like holding this girl down to make sure she didn't get like back into it. And then they were like, oh, meet us in the parking lot. We got bats. And I'm like, okay.
I'm all set. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, sure, I'm going to the after party. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
But like, that's the only fight I've ever been in. And I mean, honestly, I wasn't even in the actual fight. I was just dragging the other girl out of it. If you're going to fight, like, go for it. One-on-one. Like, don't be
Yeah, there's very
like stupid. The fight was between Amber and the other girl. This other girl that I brought down didn't need to be involved. She was just basically, egging it on. So I was like, no, that's not going to happen on my watch.
Yeah, there's very little one-on-one fighting anymore. It seems like everything is a world star hip hop clip now, like of people stomping somebody's head out like it's a freaking bag of shit on fire or something. You know what I mean? It's like, God, all right, enough.
Yeah, and I've never understood like confrontation. Like to me, it's just not worth it. I mean, obviously in wrestling, it's something different. And like I've had some hard hitting matches or some matches where like somebody shoots on me, so I'll shoot back on them to let them know that, like, they can't take advantage of me either being young in the business or they just thinking they could take advantage. Yeah. So like I'll give it back to you. That's no problem. But like to be in an actual fight, like I avoid confrontation. Who needs that drama, man? Forget it.
Yeah, I'm like you. I don't think other than maybe a couple shoving matches, I've never been in like a real fight. I think that throughout my like childhood and adolescence, I've probably punched people and I've been punched, but there's nothing that I would ever consider a street fight that started and ended between me and somebody else.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It was just either sucker punches or bullshit like that. And same deal. And trust me, like I'm a little bit of a hothead. My girlfriend will definitely tell you that. Like, I definitely am the first one to tell somebody on the road, like, you motherfucker, like, whatever. Like, everything pisses me off, but I don't ever let it come to anything. Like, I'm not, But also, too, in the ring, like you said, even sometimes when you're working your friends, those are sometimes the most stiff matches as well.
Oh, yeah.
I could definitely, hang on here. I think you're probably familiar with Belinda Rea, but she said she misses you as you see her.
Belinda's so sweet. I love her.
She's the best. Like, I've known her since the beginning of my career as well. Like, so many photographs of us, like, back outside the ECW arena and stuff. Like, just silly photos of us as, like, little pups, like, in 2003. Crazy. But,
well, I met her through WSU. And I mean, she was coming to the shows since probably I started there, which was like 2009, maybe.
Right.
Or 2010, somewhere around there is where I started with WSU. And so she was just awesome. I love Belinda. And I see the things that she's going on through in her life, and I'm rooting for her. So I hope that everything works out.
Absolutely. We love you, Belinda. Something else. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you. I thought of a funny question earlier. Like, how would you compare If this is also too personal or private, feel free to, decline. How would you compare giving birth to like pro wrestling training or some of like your most brutal matches or basically anything else brutal? Like, does it even compare?
No, not, not a chance. I had a pretty rough go of things. I was in labor. Well, okay, so in Canada here where I am, if you don't give birth at 40 weeks, they induce you at 41. So if you don't have your baby at 9 months, they only give you a week.
Wow.
To go, and then they're inducing you and getting that baby out.
Man, they don't give a shit up there, huh? They're like, no, let's go, motherfucker.
Well, it's free healthcare, so they're like, yep, we're getting in and out. Let's go.
Yeah. You're up. You're up.
It's your turn. Let's go. Yeah. Next one. Let's go. Okay. So, I loved being pregnant, and then when I hit about 37 weeks, I was like, get this thing out of me now. I'm so tired of being pregnant. And that's when you're waddling like a penguin down the hallways and stuff. Yeah. Like, it's so awful. You're tired all the time because you're carrying weight.
Yeah.
So I was trying everything. And like, I was reading online, like all of these ways to try to induce labor, like go walking and eat pineapple, eat hot sauce. So I'm doing all these things. They're like, do squats, which squatting when you're 37 weeks pregnant is not easy to begin with because babies, they come out, they're like 7-8 pounds. But with all the amniotic fluids and everything else going on, it's not easy.
No.
So I was doing everything to try to get my son out because I was like, I'm so done with it. I was a big fan of the show Hot Ones on YouTube.
Okay.
So my husband had actually bought the hottest hot sauce that they produce with Ghost Pepper X and all these other things.
Is that supposed to be an inducer as well?
Eating hot sauce, like super hot stuff. So like I'm having like, honestly, like I'm not a big hot sauce fan to begin with. So, like me taking like even a sniff of it, like I cry like a baby. So and that's just taking a sniff of it. So I would have like I dip a piece of bread in it and just like a dab, like not even like a lot, and my whole mouth would be on fire for like a day. And I'm like, okay, this has got to be worth it. It's got to happen, right? And then I had a friend of mine who was pregnant at the same time. Our kids are actually 2 days apart.
Wow.
She was doing the same thing. So we were both going to the store and buying like big pints of pineapple, and we were going walking at the mall together. We were trying so hard to get these kids out. So didn't work, none of it. So
right. I was
pregnant out there and you're trying to push your baby out. None of those remedies are going to help you.
No. Just, yeah, they're all old wives' tales. Apparently, they're all just bullshit, I guess.
Yeah. So I went to the hospital. They broke my water on a Sunday, and I didn't have my son until Tuesday.
What?
Yeah, I was in labor for 30.
What time on Sunday?
Hours.
What time on Sunday?
It was early on Sunday. It was like maybe like 4 p.m. Like, and then I had him Tuesday night at just after midnight.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
what was it like that whole time? Like, I mean, was it like when they broke your water? Then when did you start pushing and all that wonderful stuff?
I didn't do any pushing.
Okay.
I ended up, because it was going so long, I ended up having a C-section.
Okay.
Which for me, I've heard the horror stories of women who are pushing, and I was like, that sounds terrifying, but a C-section sounds even more terrifying. So we were trying to avoid it as much as we could, putting it off. That's why I was in labor for so long, because we were trying to try to do it naturally if we could.
Right.
So we ended up doing the C-section, which next time I have a kid, I'm scheduling that C-section, and I'm going to be so excited.
I've heard this before.
The recovery is so much better. I mean, it's not easy. But it's so much better. Like, I was up walking within like 15, 16 hours or so. And like, I was taking my own showers. I didn't need my husband to help me. Like, I was physically able to do things on my own, where I hear if you go naturally, it's not as easy.
No.
So luckily for me, but I was also on
That's really awesome.
And then I was on an epidural for that whole weekend, or Sunday, Monday into Tuesday. But they also gave me for the C-section some kind of like numbing medication for my lower half. So the only pain I had, and let me tell you, it was excruciating. I had fallen asleep because I'm like, medicine knocks me out. I take a Tylenol and I'm ready to go to bed.
Right.
So, being a pro wrestler, I really never took anything for pain because it would make me want to go to sleep. And, you're driving all these long ass hours.
Oh, yeah. Not a good idea.
So, yeah, I was I fell asleep on one side and they give me this like ball, but it's shaped like a peanut to put in my legs. Right. So I don't know what it's for exactly, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
It's supposed to help dilate you more, I guess, whatever the case is. Sure. So I fell asleep like that and I didn't feel like I'd feel my contractions a little bit here and there. And like, they're rough. They're not easy. I'm not going to lie. But when I woke up, apparently because I had slept on one side, all the like pain medication had drained from that hip, the top hip. So I was feeling all my contractions in my hip.
Just on the one side? Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it's not even spread out. It's just in one. I was like crying.
I didn't know pain medication could just like,
I didn't know that either.
Hourglass like that. Like I didn't know it could fucking.
I didn't either, but
oh man,
my God, it was the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. Thank God, like I turned over and within on my back, and within like 5-10 minutes, it had gone away. But like that concentrated pain was insane.
Oh,
and that's probably a lot of TMI for you guys. But
no, that's barely even getting into the murky waters where that could have went. You know what I mean? Like you could have totally went.
Yeah, I tried to keep it as like clean as possible so that men weren't like, I'm turning this off, right?
Nah, screw this. I'm out here. Nah, who cares? Who cares? Like the whole point of this show is to like make it uncomfortable at times. Like, you know what I mean? I want to talk about the uncomfortable as much as possible. That's the whole.
Yeah, and
that's why it's struggling.
A lot of men, that is definitely an uncomfortable situation. Like my poor husband. I mean, he sat by my side obviously the whole time, and he was just like, I wish I could take this. At first he was like, we're never having kids again. Like right. In the middle of all this pain, he's like, I hate seeing you in this kind of pain. We're never doing it again. And I was like, even me, like then I was like even keeled. I was like, look, it's going to last 5 minutes and we'll be fine. I don't know if that was me, like my normal personality, or if the medicine was talking, but I was like, no, we'll have another one. And then like, obviously now we're going to start planning in the future again for another one soon.
Sure. Now you've been through it once, what route you want to go this time.
This time it won't be a surprise. I already told my husband, I was like, this time we're scheduling it and it's all done. We're going to pick the birthday. I want him to come out this day, or her. I prefer her because I have a son now.
Sure.
I'd like to have one of each.
Yeah, why not?
Like, if I have another boy, I'm going to be through the roof anyway. But, I just would like to have one of each.
Yeah, you'll definitely have your hands full. You'll have 3 in the house at that point, and you're going to need some special mommy nights out if that's the case,
If we ever get to go back out. Because here where I am in Quebec, actually, because I know it's quite different from the States, they actually last week or the week before closed everything down. Not everything. Restaurants and bars are all closed again because our numbers started spiking. And it's way different than in the States. Here, there's like 1,000 people that are reported sick each day. And I know in the US, it's like way more than that. But they're closing it.
It's at least that. I think that's the statistic that they throw around this country as well. 1,000 people allegedly are infected every day and start the journey, whatever you want to call it. It's been touch and go. There was several states that decided to open up, or not open up completely, but they just got a little bit more relaxed, or now you could come in and you could dine in, but obviously people are spaced out like crazy.
Yeah, same here. Well,
there's no menus on tables. There's no salt. There's no condiments or anything on the table. And all that stuff gets brought to you now. Like if you want it, or even if you don't want it, they don't even bring it to you. You know what I mean? So it's weird, man. I really hope in some capacity we get past this, because I'm over it, and it's just I can't stand it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been out to eat one time, my girlfriend and I, and it was recently. It was this past weekend. My girlfriend and I went out to eat, and we didn't even bring my son, and it's just weird. Like, it feels like a real clinical experience. Somebody's bringing you like all your shit in a mask, and I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't seem like it's a cool thing to do anymore, or like pay $30 for two people to eat to have that kind of experience. You know what I mean?
Right. My husband and I did the same thing. We did a date night. It was probably August, and it was just, we ate out on a terrace, you know, and it was still, you know, your waiters in the mask, and you know, we had to wear a mask until we sat down and everything. But like, it was just like, why? Like, I'll just rather pay an extra $10 on Uber and have it come to me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If in fact you need to eat at that restaurant or whatever, you know, and that's another thing. Like, the people that were insisting on wanting to go to bars and stuff, it's like, can't you just do your alcoholism at home? Go get a case and go home and just drink yourself stupid. Like, why do you got to sit at a bar and drink? Like, but I get it. Like, for some people, that's their social life, and that's where they have their fun. And, you know, I'm not knocking it. It is what it is.
Well, with this weekend here in Canada, it's our Thanksgiving on Monday. And like, we can't, you can only have one person in your house other than the people that live there, if they're taking care of like someone elderly or babysitting or whatever the case. So it's last year I had, my family is all in the US, but I had my husband's whole family, which is Greek. So there's a huge plethora of them, and they're not even all in Montreal. You know what I mean? Like, there's still more in Greece and other areas. So like, we had like 20 people in my house last year for Thanksgiving. And now this year it's me, my husband, and my son. That's it. You know, it's weird. Like, depressing, because like, the government's giving out fines now. Like, if you have more than one person in your house, they're like, no, you'll get, I think it's something like $1,000 fine, if I remember correctly. Wow. So it's like, it's so depressing. And like, I'm making my grocery list, you know, to go this weekend to get the stuff that I need. And I'm like, well, I don't really need a lot. And it's sad, because I love making huge meals at Christmas and everything. And like, obviously Easter, we didn't celebrate that very big. And you know, now we don't have well, I don't know why anybody would go trick-or-treating this year. I mean, I have a son, and like, this would be his first time going. Like, I would love it, but I'm like, I'm not going to risk that, you know? And then taken away, and I'm like, can I please have Christmas?
Yeah, can we please just get okay for Christmas, like, so we can, you know, do some stuff, maybe like sit on Santa's lap.
Family, you know, like, okay, if I can't go out to the mall or, you know, go out to dinner, whatever, but at least let me have my family over for Christmas, and you know, I'll go to some stuff at the store and make a nice spread for us, and we can enjoy the holiday together.
Yeah, and like, is your neighborhood like ideal for trick or treating? Like, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know if you were like spaced out or anything like that.
No, like, I live in a nice suburb of Montreal.
Okay.
And I'm very blessed. I have a huge, gigantic park across the street from me, so there's a lot of children in this neighborhood anyway. Yeah. And my sister-in-law used to live in this area, which is one of the reasons why we chose it too. And I came with her kids trick-or-treating several years ago, and like, this whole area goes crazy for Halloween. Like, when I went trick-or-treating with them, it was probably 4 years ago now. There was one house that's probably like 4 or 5 down from mine, and they did a whole alien spacecraft crash in their front yard as a display. And it was so cool and interactive and fun. Like, that's just the one that like pops in my head. But like,
no, that's awesome though. But they always have a theme like that. Yeah, because like, I was just asking about like the nature of the neighborhood, because like, I didn't know if they were still going to even allow it. I
don't think so here.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was just trying to like brainstorm ideas. Like, if they were going to allow some trick or treating, you could kind of have a candy station set up, and then that way maybe you could sit outside with your son, and he can at least see the trick or treaters or something like that. Yeah. You know, but if nobody's going to be allowed to do it, obviously.
Well, don't worry about it. The restaurants closing and everything are closed for 28 days, which they did it right at the end of September. So if they are allowed, it'll be like literally right before Halloween when they say that.
Yeah.
It's
Hurry
like,
up and get your costumes. Hurry
yeah.
up.
Well,
We got 2 days.
well, I mean, like, I don't know about when you were in school, but like, I know when I was in school, which is in Ohio, and now I'm obviously in Montreal. So they do the same thing. Like, the kids are still going to do like Halloween dress up at school.
That's cool.
So he does have a costume. So we already bought it. It's already taken care of. Like,
nice.
So if there is trick or treat, will we go trick or treating? Probably not, because I don't want my kid to get like, I'm super like uncool mom. Like, I don't want him to have like, chocolates and all that stuff and ruin his teeth.
No, I get it.
At least now, you know, he's 18 months. He doesn't understand, but like, I'll give him a few things here and there, but nothing crazy. Like Halloween, I'm like, oh God.
No.
Turns like old enough to understand, like, I want all this candy, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you don't
so, like,
need
I might walk around the neighborhood with him, like see the trick-or-treaters and all that kind of stuff. But if we have it.
Right.
Other than that, I definitely don't want to be in contact with anybody. So
yeah, like you said, I mean, there's just so much garbage we have to worry about now.
No, COVID sucks.
Yeah.
Wear your mask. Let's get this over with and just be done with it.
Thank you, Sassy Stephie, for the PSA for these dum-dums out there who just think that we're, you know, they're like, you're infringing on my rights. It's like, no, you're not. You know, just wear a mask.
What gets me, and this is going into the politics side of thing, but what gets me is the people who are like, it's a hoax. I'm like, I live, like the people in the US that say this, I'm like, I live in Canada and the same thing is happening. How is it a hoax? Like the whole world's in on it?
Yeah, everybody's in on it. Everybody's in on it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's people that have capitalized on the hysteria.
For sure.
There are companies and corporations that have made, you know, probably millions and billions of dollars figuring out how to capitalize during these times and how to take advantage of people.
My husband is the reason.
He's the reason?
Yeah, because every time we go to any store and there's masks or hand sanitizer, he's like, buy it all. Buy it all. And I'm like, oh my God, relax.
Just get it all. Get it for the next one.
Sanitizer we don't need anymore. But no, this one's 80%, and this one that we have is 66%. I'm like, relax. I love him to death because he's very cautious, but it's just he is definitely like one of those people, like, I want to make sure everything is a-okay and we never have to worry about anything, which God bless him for that.
Oh yeah,
so, like, we have bottles, we're okay for now.
For sure. And I relate to I relate to his sentiments. being the leader of my own little flock now.
Yeah.
You know, my own little pack. It's you worry like you never did before. It's crazy. Like I used to be a big pet animal person, and then I had a kid, and you know, so I could care less about the dog now. Like I could care less. Like and I throw that around loosely. You know what I mean? But like I just love my son so much and care for him and my girlfriend so much that it's like it doesn't even compare. You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. Like in the same sentiment, my dog like looks at me like, why are you playing with him and not me? And like, puppy dog eyes. But it's so funny because like my dog loves my son too, and we love our dog. He's amazing, and they play together a lot. But like my dog gets really irritated sometimes at him, like, oh my God, this kid won't leave me alone.
Yes.
But now, like when my son comes home from daycare, like when I bring him home, we have French doors. So like we have a little entryway and then French doors. My dog's sitting at those French doors waiting for my son to come in. My son comes in, doesn't worry about taking his coat or his shoes or nothing off. He goes straight to that door and they're like face to face, like, I missed you so much in those.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're adorable, and
that's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I got to share this quote here. I don't particularly appreciate it, from Missy Sampson. Fuck you. All right, okay, Missy. You know what? That's really rude because Missy Sampson was the very first female guest on my show. And guess what, Steph? You're only number 2 because I'm obviously a chauvinist, sexist piece of shit. You know, I'm 44 episodes in and I've only had 2 women on. But ladies and gentlemen, it's only because I'm just not that popular and I don't have that many girlfriends. People don't like me that much, okay? Especially girls.
Well, I know you posted your schedule and you're going to have Yolanda on this week.
I am going to have Yolanda, and I'm very excited about that.
Which, side note, I love you too, Missy, and I love Yolanda as well.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Both great girls. In
Yes.
fact, we were in the same group at DCW, and I was feuding with Missy. I broke her arm, and that's one of our favorite, our shoulder. That's our favorite story.
You broke Missy's shoulder?
Not legitimately, but
Sure.
yeah, we're like, what can we do to like make myself break her shoulder even more? And we just had a friggin' blast. That's the only time I've been able to work with Missy in the ring, sadly, and it was so much fun.
Well, we'll just have to make your if you do get to come back, we'll just have to make it a 6-way match and just really make it fucking crazy. She dislocated my shoulder. Yes, she was just chiming in there. She's like, so much fun, she said.
It's so much fun. We had a blast. And that's the thing, like when you work with people that, okay, me and Missy, we know each other, you know, we're friends, but like I never got to work with her. But when you're friends with somebody and you have that chemistry and like you work together, it's the best.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And Missy's been one of my favorites.
Havoc and I would beat the living shit out of each other every time we wrestled. In fact, a funny story, I'll sidetrack with it. We were wrestling. We had a hardcore match, I think in Canton, Ohio, somewhere. I know. And her mom was actually selling her merch. And when we were fighting outside the ring, and she took my head and rammed it into the table where her mom was, and the table like collapsed. It was one of those foldable tables. Fantastic. And the merch went everywhere. And Jessica's mom was like, I can't believe you too. Like she was screaming at us. We're like, we got to get out of here because Mama Havoc is.
No, I've seen like there's been a few times Jess that shared pictures of her and her mom, and it looks like, you know, like her mom looks probably tougher than she is. So like I wouldn't want to mess with Jess's mom. No,
yeah, she's super sweet, but don't get on her bad side.
No, definitely not. I mean, just you saying that reminds me of like one of my best friends and certainly greatest foes in the business is Black G's, and like we've had some wars over the years. And I remember probably in the early 2000s, we were having a match in the ECW arena, and it was one of the few matches that my mom had made it to, and like she was never able to separate like the fact that the performance from the fact that was her baby up there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I forget, like, I don't remember what the blackout was doing to me, but like they were kicking my ass or doing something, and he got out of the ring and she fired a bottle of water, like emptied it at him. Like she didn't throw the water, but like threw it this way so that like it super soaked him. And he was trying to jump the guardrail and get my mom, not knowing that it was my mom. Like he was just trying to kill this fucking lady that just doused him. And, you know, later I told him, I was like, you know, that was my mom, you crazy fuck. And like, that's not to say that she's not also crazy for having done that.
Right.
You know, like she definitely might have deserved an ass kicking that day.
Oh man, my mom was exactly the same way too. Like I would be a heel and she'd be like, yeah, that's my girl. And I'm like, Mom, you can't cheer for me. If you're cheering for me, I'm not doing my job. So I'm going to have to tell you to sit down and shut up, old lady, or whatever I'm going to have to do.
Yeah,
so
right.
Do it. And she never listened. But like, she was my greatest fan. Like she was at my first, like when I told her, I was like, Mom, I'm going to go train to wrestle. She's like, what? Yeah, okay. 6 months, you're going to be done. No big deal. And then she came to my first match, and she watched wrestling when I was a kid. Like when my mom and dad, when I was 3, went to WrestleMania 3.
Oh, wow.
So up in Detroit. Yeah. So the whole Hulk Hogan and Andre thing, right?
Nice.
So my mom actually bought a shirt, the original yellow and red Hulkamania shirt.
Sweet.
And it still fits me. So I wear it every once in a while. But yeah, so like she liked it when I was a kid growing up. And then she fell out of it, but I was still in love with it. And when I started wrestling, she thought like it wasn't going to last, you know, whatever. And then like she was at most of my shows anywhere in Ohio. She was. When I went, I told her, I was like, look, I'm going to WSU this weekend and I'm going to win my first like major title. Actually, it might've been my first title ever.
Right.
And she's like, okay, I'm going. I was like, what? So she actually left on Thursday. The show was on Saturday. She left on Thursday, spent the night Friday night in New Jersey or New York, whichever. I don't remember because it was so close, right?
Right. Yeah, they're right.
Any of those states. And so she was there for my first title win. And like, it was so super sweet. And then I lost her 7, almost 8 years ago now. And like, there's like pictures I find online where like she's just in like the background, and like if you didn't know that was my mom, you would just be like, it's another person. But she loved me. And I remember one time my whole family came out to one of my shows that I was on, and I was a heel, and my cousin, who was my age, this little kid was yelling at me because I was a heel, and he's like, "That's my cousin, sit down and shut up." And my grandma was there, and she was cheering me on, and my grandma,
I love that true passion.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Like, it's great when your family supports what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, and that was something else I was going to bring up. And I mean, you kind of already did, and we don't need to address it because we're coming up on an hour here in a little bit, and I don't want to take up too much of your night. But I was going to ask you about your mom, because I know it was just a detail that I remember, like, having known you for a lot of years now. It was just something that I remember because, like, weirdly enough, maybe because I'm a graphic designer, I remember when you got that tattoo on your back, like that memorial. Like, I just remember it looking, I forget, it was kind of tribal, but like almost like a logo, and like it had your red hair on it and stuff like that. Yeah, and I remember that, and I was going to ask you about that because, like I said, sometimes on the show we talk about difficult things we've been through and how you overcame them, but you don't by any means have to get into that now. But like, I know you said it's been 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it'll be 8 years in January. But the tattoo, I found it on Pinterest, actually. It's like a mom holding her daughter. And what it is it's the everlasting symbol, like
infinity.
Yeah, the infinity symbol. Okay. I knew everlasting wasn't the word.
Right. No, it's the right word.
Instead on top, instead of being sideways, it's upside down, and then instead of going around, it's the mom with the daughter. And so I made the daughter with red hair because that's what I had at the time. And then I gave the mom angel wings.
Right.
My skin's a bit, I guess, a little too dark for the yellow, so you can't see the halo, but there's a halo on it.
Oh, okay.
And at the bottom, it says "Love, Mom." And one of the last cards that I got from her, like, that she wrote me a message in, like, "I'm proud of you," or "Happy birthday," or whatever the case was, whatever it was, it said "Love, Mom" at the bottom. So I gave it to my tattoo artist, and he just put it on the paper, and then he tattooed "Love, Mom" underneath it in her handwriting.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
really cool. So like, I took this super generic picture from Pinterest and made it all my own.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. Like, the reason it kind of stuck out in my mind is because I know that we're close in age. I'm older than you are. But I know that we were close in age, and just certainly to have lost your mother, even that many years ago, I just know that it would have affected me, and or how it would have affected me, should I say? And I know it had to be difficult. I just know it had to be really tough.
It was
at such a young age.
My sister lived in Virginia, still does. And so I haven't talked to my dad in like 15 years or so, maybe more now. I don't keep track because I don't care. And so I was all alone. Like, I was living in Ohio. My husband was living here in Montreal. I was dating him at the time. We weren't even engaged or anything. He had literally just met my mom like a couple months prior to that.
Wow.
So like, luckily for me, he was able to fly in that day because she passed early in the morning. And he flew in that night to be with me, and he stayed 2 weeks, which I don't know how he could afford that at the time, but whatever the case was, like, he was there as my rock. And, it was very difficult for me because now I'm living in this house all by myself when I'm used to my mom being there. And my job at the time was super, super nice about giving me like a month or so off because I had to figure out how I'm going to deal with all of this. Because, I mean, she was young. She was 52. It wasn't something that, we expected. It just came out of the blue. I found her when I came home from work one morning. And, I mean, it was devastating. And there's still some days, like me, like right now I'm okay. But like other times, like I get super emotional about it. And I just break down and cry because she was such a huge impact in my life. In fact, I was talking to Danger on my second episode of Talkin Sass. And, I said she's my wrestling mom.
Sure.
And it was actually, I never put this together until I talked to her on my podcast. The day my mom died, I called Danger, and I don't really remember the phone call too much because obviously I was in another area.
Oh, and for sure.
yeah, so then several months later, we had a match together, a 6-way match. But it turns out the day that Danger had her stroke was the day my mom passed. So it's like, so I
Wow.
had never put that together. I knew it was the same time, but I had never put that together because I was dealing with all my own emotions
Of
from my
course.
mom.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I almost broke down in tears there because my mom and Danger, even though they never met in person, they became close. And anytime I saw
Yeah,
Danger, they would be like, "Hey, did you call your mom?" And when
yeah,
I would say my mom would be like, "Is Danger there? Can you tell her I said hey?" So like
yeah.
both like mother figures to me had something happen on the same exact day that was so impactful in different ways. So like I got emotional on my show. I was like, oh my God,
Of
I
course.
never put this together that happened. And then her and I's last match was like 2 months later. And I'm like, oh my God, I never put any of this timeline together on my own because I was obviously in my own headspace at the time. So
Yeah, and that's a really big part of uh what this is all about, like this whole talking to each other thing.
mm-hmm.
Like uh to some degree, like I started my podcast for a lot of reasons. One
Yeah,
being I think that like people didn't talk enough as it is with the world being so digital and typey and social media, everything. Like
yeah,
people didn't talk enough, so people needed to talk more. And then in addition to that, I was thinking people need to talk about their problems more,
mm-hmm.
because it takes a really big person to admit that I need therapy, or I need to talk to somebody, or I need help. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So like, there's that as well. But also, I mean, I guess where I'm going with this is like, then there's these times where you're having these talks with people that you really care about, and like something gets unlocked, or you figure something out about yourself or them or
mm-hmm.
whatever, and it's just a really big breakthrough, sometimes psychologically or emotionally, and it's just I just think it's something we all need.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, that talk with Danger, like I got emotional about it, but like I really felt like, okay, all that time put on a timeline correctly now, like it helped me process a little bit more. Like, I mean, yeah, I know it's almost 8 years now, but like it helped me process that time a little bit better than what I was previously. Cause like I said, I never put together that day, both my real mom and my mom that has always looked after me in wrestling.
Right,
Something
right.
happened to like what are the chances of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no, that's really weird.
yeah, it helped me process a little bit more that time frame because like before Danger said anything on my podcast, I didn't even remember that I called her.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah,
I
yeah, no,
was
like,
I was a mess at that
yeah.
time. And you know,
Oh, I bet.
I remember that weekend I went and wrestled because it was the girl I was wrestling, it was her first match. And I was like, my mom would want me to go on and wrestle anyway. So it's like I did grieve when I was alone. Thankfully my husband, my boyfriend at the time was there with me, but I still grieved because a lot of the time I was on my own. After those 2 weeks when he went home, I didn't besides work and wrestling, I had a lot of time to myself. So I
Sure, and
did grieve, but I never processed. So
yeah,
now I feel like I can process that time a little bit better. Maybe it'll be easier for me as I go on. Obviously, now I haven't got very emotional, so I think I'm processing it a little bit
good,
better.
good, and I'm sure it will be a time thing.
Yeah.
And, and certainly, it at the same time, don't feel weird if like it's 20 years from now and you get emotional
Mhm.
about it, because it's your mother, and
Yeah.
so you always got to look at it that way. But as you were talking about the tattoo, speaking of the hair color thing, I think it's funny that here we all are all these years later. I've got green hair and your hair is actually a normal color, because I'm used to it being red. I'm used to it being fire engine red, and
Well,
you've got the normal hair color, or so it seems.
yeah, it is. It's actually like to about here is all my natural hair color because I'm growing it
Okay.
out. But decided I was going to probably get pregnant. I was like, I should probably stop dyeing my hair now because bleach is probably not good for a baby.
Probably not.
And I was getting ready for the first time ever, and still only time actually. I was going to Greece with my husband, he's 100% Greek. So we were going and staying at his grandparents' house in Greece. And I was like, you know what? If I dye my hair red, it's just gonna fade and it's going to look orange. And not that there's anything wrong with orange, because I mean, Becky Lynch pulled that off very well. But
yeah.
I can pull off orange very well, even though I love the Cleveland Browns and I wear orange every Sunday. But,
gotta get that in there.
Yeah, definitely huge Cleveland Browns fan. And so I don't think I could have worked that. And plus, I was going to be in the sea all the time with the salt water and stuff like that. It was just going to damage my hair. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go back to brown for the time I'm in Greece. And then I got pregnant while I was in Greece, and so then I just went back again. I want to go back to like a reddish color, but my husband's like, oh, nice brown. Why don't you just leave it?
It does. It really looks good. It really looks good. I mean, I'm obviously so used to just a color or red or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when my girlfriend was watching us on Blake and Brian's episode, she's like, I almost didn't recognize her because like her hair's not red. You know?
Yeah, a lot of people don't, and it's good at some points and bad at others. Like, I mean, like, when I still have my red hair and I met like a lot of my husband's friends, they're like, oh, her hair is super bright, because they all have like, normal hair colors. And like, when I work in an office, and the bright red hair, no one gave a crap about. Like the office I'm in is pretty chill. But when I came in with dark hair, I didn't tell anybody I was doing it. And the next day when I went in, they're like,
there's some weird girl in the break room. I don't know.
I do not have bright hair.
Yeah. Who's that chick in the break room? I don't recognize her. That's weird.
Yeah, who's that girl sitting in Stephanie's desk?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you don't want it to be your trademark either, because you know, you're known for so much more, and I think that going forward you'll be known for this as well. You know, so like, one more time, why don't you definitely put over your show and let everybody know where they could find you on the Facey space and all that wonderful stuff before we get out of here.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much once again for having me. First off,
absolutely, it has been my pleasure, Steph.
Oh, and it's been great. You're an awesome host, and I appreciate it. Thank you. So you can find me on Facebook. It's facebook.com official Sassy Stephie. On Twitter and Instagram, it's at Sassy Stephie. If you feel so inclined, you can join my patreon.com/Sassy Stephie. That actually helps keep my podcast afloat, because podcasting is not cheap. So if you go there, even my lowest tier is $5, but like, that helps me pay for the hosting of my podcast. So like, it's very important. And like I said, I'm growing the podcast as much as I can. But it's Talkin Sass on YouTube. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, Google, all of them. I put them on all of them. And so that's me. And if you feel obliged, also there's prowrestlingtees.com/Sassy Stephie, and you can support me that way too.
So definitely do that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be jerk offs, okay?
All of that.
Yeah,
don't be
everything that she said, do each one of those things. Okay. But thanks again, Steffi. I know we've been keeping it light and sweet, and everything's been super classy, but my sign off goes a little something like this. Thanks for joining us, folks. Hope you had a great night, but if not, go fuck yourself.
And kiss my sass.
Yeah.